Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Sunday afternoon or evening, depending on where you are, or earlier in the day if you're like in Hawaii or something. Hello, Davey. Well, I got to put up the right one, though. Good afternoon, Mike. Hey, AP's World. Hello, Patrick. Must be 3 p.m. on Sunday. And what are you guys doing here? You should be out enjoying the weather. Good afternoon. Yeah, busy week. Well, the front of the week, Monday, Tuesday's not that bad, but starting Wednesday, it gets super busy. And then earnings, big earnings on Thursday, but we'll look at everything. We will come up with at least a preliminary game plan to tackle it. Good evening, Anissa. Hello, Christoph. Again, how is everyone doing? By the way, if you are new here, please do consider subscribing, ring that bell, and hitting the like button. Longer term subscribers, please come back and leave some comments and like the videos. And by the way, if you haven't yet subscribed and you're on the fence, please do consider or making that push for 5K. I'd like to see that hit sooner rather than later. All right, here's what we're talking about. Tomorrow, you got more Fed speak. I'm just so tired. Can these guys just, we know what they keep saying. So can we be done? But other than that, just your auctions with the notes and bills. Uh, Tuesday morning, more Fed speak. Not a lot of major. I mean, you got consumer inflation expectations, but that might be minor moving, but not major. But then Wednesday, besides your mortgage stuff that comes out real early, 30 or 1 hour before the open, 7:30 Central. We got inflation, core inflation, CPI. So that's going to be real important for Wednesday. So you'll have to tune into the live stream on Wednesday. Then we have all the oil and gas numbers. Then we have the Fed Beige Book come out at 1 on Wednesday. And then Thursday, an hour before the open, you got PPI and jobless claims. And then more Fed speak. And then Friday before the open, you got retail sales with some pricing stuff. You got the Empire State Manufacturing Index, which is starting to have some importance because it's in contraction. You got more Fed speak. Then we got consumer sentiment, the preliminary numbers for July. So we're going to see if it's improved a bit or not. So again, end of the week is big. Then, of course, you have the rig count. So keep that in mind. Remember, pretty mixed day on Friday with a slight upwards bias. FOMC still not close to 92% that we're doing that 75 basis point. The 50 basis point fell off, but I'm expecting that to pop back on sometime this week. I doubt they go a full basis point, and we still are in negative gamma territory, but not as much. Remember, we make a slight push higher, we're pretty much back to neutral. Earnings, before the open on Tuesday, I'm going to actually pay attention to PepsiCo. And then before on, it's going to be interesting with Delta. I know air travel's up, but fuel costs are up, and those weren't hedged correctly. That's going to be interesting with Delta, so that's fascinating. Then Thursday before the open, this is when it really gets going. J.P. Morgan, Morgan Stanley. What else do we have? Not much after the close, but then Friday you got UHG, United Health Group, and I put up the sector analysis and my thoughts on the healthcare sector. Then you got Wells Fargo, Citibank, Progressive. Oh, one of my favorite firms, BlackRock, PNC, U.S. Bancorp, Bank New York Mellon. So Fridays are really big, and again with all the other stuff coming out between Thursday pre-market and Friday pre-market, we could have some interesting pre-market moves going into them because the banks can really shift things due to the financial sector. All right. Let's see. BTC sell off today. Harbinger for the NAS. Could be, and it confirmed that double bottom, but did not trigger it on a closing basis, which I was watching for. So that double's been confirmed, but not triggered. So we'll have to see, and I will take a look at Bitcoin. Hey, Danjet. All right. So let's just, again, please, if you haven't watched, go watch the sector overview at some point. Cycles at the top on the daily. and the weekly. All right, a 4 hour trying to turn up. So could we get another slight push higher? Yes, we could before a rollover play. It's just very quiet Monday and Tuesday. So that's going to be interesting. But if cycles are going to roll over and they stay at the top on Monday and Tuesday, then I'm expecting it midweek at least. We do have a potential double top on the S&P. Okay, but that needs to trigger 3868, and that's on a 4 hour basis. So you can trigger it even on a 1 hour basis. But that's right. It'll get out of the way of the 4 hour rotation zone. And then the targets on that 3844, 3833, and 3821. So that's key to that. There was a fair amount of selling pressure up here above about 39.07 on Friday. So I'm keeping an eye on that. You see that up here. And yes, that's just why it's a 4 hour double top, because the 1 hour is just too sloppy and actually turned into a triple top. With the higher time frame matters more. But that's why I need the trigger either this time frame or a 1 hour to trigger it. On a push higher, I still have the harmonics in the same place. Remember, we did close above the 62.5, and we just missed that 87.5 with these two topping tails. But we have a harmonic cluster at 39, 24, 25, and then 39, 34, 50. We start breaking above 39, 24, 25. I really would be watching for this higher area above the next harmonic area. So up at these prior tops with the candle bodies, about 39, 37. So that's where we sit with that. So the major play still on the downside is this little mini double, and that's just a bigger corrective pattern. Where do we sit? We have the rotation zone flat on the daily, so that's not much help because we're in a sort of consolidation support resistance area right there. And then on the weekly, we're still banging up against that weekly rotation zone. So the only way I start getting more than super short-term bullish is if we take out these highs of around 39.50. Then I watch for that push into the weekly rotation zone with the 50-day exponential, and this harmonic target would be my next preliminary target for a breakout play. And then the next target would be 40.28. So 39.89, 40.28, then the breakdown zone. But I'd step right in front of that about 40.77. So those are all my key levels on that. NASDAQ also has a potential double below 11.952. 11.823. I went over why I was why I was using the targets I was using on the Friday stream. 11.752.75, 11.694 area, and that's also at another retracement harmonic. So if we do push higher, what I'm watching for would be 12.222.50 and then a return to this high area. We've already hit that 87.5, so we fulfilled the rule on the close above the 62.5, but it could easily still push higher, and that would be the next minor target. And then the next major target is, I'm using this as the pausing area. The next minor breakout target would be 12.318, and then the major target would be this harmonic cluster about 12.411 to about 12.476. By the way, if it does trigger this double, it would be out of the way of the 4-hour rotation zone, and we get our bigger pullback. 4-hour cycles trying to turn up daily at the top and not yet rolling over, and weekly at the top and not yet rolling over. On the weekly basis, we are against the rotation zone, and if we did get this another short-term breakout play, that would just take us into the weekly rotation zone, and where cycles where they are at, I'd watch for the mid to end of week roll over if we do get that push higher in the beginning of the week. Dow, there is not a double pattern here. On this little move, we closed above the 62.5, so I'm still watching on the next push higher in the Dow, 31,675, and then the next significant target area would be 31,860, right with the 50 period exponential. On the breakdown area, I don't need to cover all the cycles with this, but I'll be watching key support 31,200. Prior breakout zone becoming support. We break below that. I'm actually going just all the way back to about 31,050 to about 31,030. And then my next major support is back at 30,700. Russell, also no great pattern here. This is not a potential double. And my support level I'm watching for this is a lower, coming in right about 1740. If we get below 1740, then I get more bearish on the Russell. But as long as it stays above there, it's still just a corrective pattern. This would not be a double top, not reversing enough in the move. On the breakout play above 1783.60, 1796.5, and then my major target is the declining 50 and the harmonic, coming in about 1807 to about 1810. And remember, it's up here in the 50 to 62.5 retracement area, and this is a big rollover zone. And on the weekly, you see we are up against the weekly rotation zone. So anywhere up in here, I will be watching for the rollover play. DAX cycle still trying to turn up there, but at the daily trying to roll over. So I'm going to be actually watching for, unless we get a close back above this 13,100, I'm watching for another rollover play and then a potential bottoming formation. That's what I'm watching for with the mismatched cycles. We will get to the VIX, Coco. Good afternoon, Sashi. Crude. Daily cycle still turning up against the daily rotation zone, but remember, we're in a consolidation play. A pretty fair amount of buying pressure down here. Remember, we triggered the aggressive buy, and now we're still running up. So I'm still watching for some continued upside in crude. My next target area is 108.15 and then 109.50. On a pullback, the only thing I don't really want to see, there's no great topping. This is a very minor topping pattern. It's a little sloppy, but we will put it on there. And we're in consolidation, so I am using the conservative targets here for the double. On a close below 101.51, 100.03, 99.28, 98.54. Let's see where that looks at the bigger pattern. That just gives me my nice pullback level, which then I'd start watching for a more significant bottoming pattern. And I'm just seeing where this sits. And that's really, you know, we could come back, spike down here and still close above the 50% or above the 62.5 retracement area and then form another move back up. But unless that triggers, I'm still in short-term bullish mode. Really? You learn something about trading in futures, buying the dip is always better than selling the top? That just depends what market it is. Yeah, I wouldn't get conditioned to just buying any old dip or selling any old top. You will need a pattern there, Dark Screen Sleep. You need a pattern. Natty Gas, gonna watch for a potential pullback move again and then another rotation back up, but not a strong pattern in there. Gold. Come on, gold. We do have this double in here that's confirmed but not yet triggered on a 4-hour closing basis. This could be triggered even on a 1-hour, but it is against the 4-hour rotation zone. So that's what I'm keeping close tabs on, and that would be 1766.90, so roughly $1,767. I'll move above there, then 1775, 1770, 1780, and 1784 are the targets, and that just takes it back closer to the daily rotation zone, and it is cycles at the bottom trying to get a move on up with deeply oversold. So this could actually be a pretty nice short-term bounce play to the upside on gold. No double on silver, but if gold triggers, I'll be watching for that upside play. We are against that harmonic, trying to put at least in the short-term bottom with cycles turning up. Copper coming down, spiking nicely off there. triggering a super aggressive buy pattern. I'm watching for at least a shorter term bottom on another. We've come up close to that daily rotation zone. I'm going to watch for a pullback and then a stronger bottoming formation to be put in with copper, because now is not the time to chase it after the first hit. Now it is coming out of oversold, trying to get the cycles turning up, but it's still, this is a weak bottoming pattern, not a strong bottoming pattern. Notes we've talked about repeatedly. Coming back down, I'm watching for the next turn up play, sitting against the 117, 19.5 harmonic, which now I'm going to update to this pausing bar. Okay, and this would be my major. So if we do come up and roll over once more, this is the major area I'm watching for support between the 50 and the 62.5. All right, and you can see that support ledge down there from before. So that's on another little one more push lower. This is the key area I'm watching before the next turn up play for a potential inverse head and shoulders. With daily cycles trying to get to the bottom, that's why I'm not getting overly bullish just yet. I need a stronger bottoming pattern. And weeklies still trying to turn up, so we could get another push and then another rotation back up. But you see here, we got into that weekly rotation zone, rotating over. And if we form that inverse head and shoulders, the weekly rotation zone will be out of the way, and then we'll be into this really nice advanced clear path. So that's what I'm sitting on my hands, waiting for the next major setup. Dollar index looking like it could be at least putting in a short-term top. Very topping pattern cycles at the top with the very overbought. So I am watching for a pullback. First area is about 106. More substantial is back to a 105.35. If it does make another push higher, next target is 108.04. VIX. I'm just going to pull these off for now. On any more of a rally, the key support is back at 24. So that's what I'm focused on with that. Other than that, little resistance shelf will be on the 1 hour basis. That is not a double. Little minor areas about 25, but then I'm going to be watching to see how it reacts upwards between about 25.35 to 25.50 on any bump up move. Bitcoin, here's what I was talking about. Came up, confirmed this double bottom, which this was not enough to turn into a triple bottom, but not triggered. If in order for me to get even short-term bullish, I need the close above 21,866. And then that's still just another run up before the next rollover play. On a pullback now, my key support is right around 19,450, and then a close below there. I'll be watching for another pullback to the recent bottoms. Let's see. My dog Spoos barks once for a buy and twice for a sell. Tried and true system. That's a great system, Davey. I hope that works for you long term. On the ES chart, you had a couple red horse on the line. Is anything specific about those levels? Those were for their harmonic levels. I talked about that on the Futures Ed podcast. I'm not going to reiterate that, but I explained exactly where those levels come from. They're from the bigger retracement harmonics. It's just easier to spot instead of keeping all these levels on the chart, and I put them up there for the Futures Ed podcast. Also, something else just to keep an eye on a little longer term is this. If we do push higher, to watch the upper end of this little channel thing. Buy patterns work better, for example, on S&P 500 when it goes oversold. Always make an aggressive pump, I think, because algos prefer the upside move. Well, long term, you have a bullish bias in stocks. However, you cannot say always. Okay, because we could go through a very long period where the oversold pumps don't work, and it's not always. It is not always. Now, for the past few years and before this big rollover move, it was pretty consistent, but that's why you still have people buying the dip. But a lot of the dip buying auto algos have been shut down. That's why you have thinner markets in the S&P. Because they stopped working with these extended, protracted pullbacks. By the way, Tesla up against the 50, closing right against there on the daily. Now we have Elon trying to back out of the Twitter deal, but Twitter is going to file suit. They're bringing in a heavy hitter M&A firm, which is going to be very interesting. I do expect, though, all the Twitter fanatics who think he's just going to get to walk from the deal. I did post an very interesting article in Discord on Saturday morning, so scroll back in the article sections and look for that. But I'm watching for at least a retest on a gap up somewhere near these recent highs back from the beginning of June. If it does make a bigger play before a rollover play, and this would be a gift because it'd be another great shorting opportunity, you have major resistance about 1807 to about 1815. So this will be a very interesting stuff considering the Twitter aspect. Can you check on plug? Sure I can. Plug. Is everybody's who uses TradingView still doing that when you type a letter and it still gives the it still thinks you're typing a 1? Plug power, you're trying to get a breakout here. You do have this double. Closing right there. It triggered it on the closing basis. I'd be watching for a pullback play just with cycles at the top before to get better reward to risk. I really hate when they trigger right at the top with cycles. And it is, yes, you're not just reversing this move, you're reversing this whole move. So you're fine, but I would aggressively be moving up the stop at 2261. And you are against a weekly rotation zone, so it's lower probability. But here's the area I'd be watching for a pullback play. I'd actually be watching it about somewhere between this area right in here, about 1885 to 1826 with the rising daily rotation zone. And for your initial stop, you don't want it to close back below about 1530 area, else it's off the table. Yep, it is. You can leave. That's technically even a daily. You can trade that off the daily, and it did trigger on the weekly too. So it's a triggered double, and you can easily see the move it's reversing here, coming off the 200 on the weekly, which was major support. But we'll still be watching for eventually the next rollover play in that, even if this double goes to fruition. Why? Because we still haven't hit that 87.5 target. Mike, thoughts on Tesla price action and Twitter drama? Elon ended up buying Twitter at a lower price. Anything's possible. I think it's going to start down the road to legal stuff because if they're going to negotiate, they actually have a very solid agreement in place. I don't care what all the Tesla fanatics say who think Elon can walk from anything. And this will be a very interesting case because if you read what Elon's firm filed, he thinks it's all about what he thinks. And you don't just get to dissolve an agreement based off what you think. You think it has this, you think it has that, and go read the article I put up. It's a really good summary. But this has major ramifications for M&A. If he can wiggle out of this, I think it puts major harm in future M&A deals, and the nature of M&A deals will change drastically if he can wiggle out of this. So that's what's going to get interesting. It's going to take a while. And if they were, if Twitter was going to renegotiate for a lower price, they'd have issues with their board. They'd have issues with shareholders. They'd have issues with the board. I don't think they're in a position to do that right now. They actually have the legalese on their side. But this is not going to get resolved quickly, in my opinion. It's going to be around for a while. So, buy Amazon, sell Twitter this week. You know what? I would, you have, oh, there is a lot of risk playing Twitter at this point because of what's going on. It's going to be interesting to watch this double top play out. Because, yeah, I think it's going down, but this is not something I would be involved in because it's all going to be based off of the news cycle, what's happening, if stuff's leaked, the way once Twitter files its suit, how that reads. There are too many variables. It's now a M&A news story that can still have substantial ramifications. So I'm just following this there could only thing for me is if there were intraday plays, but there's easier stuff to try to trade. Because this can be all over the place with what happens now. So I would not be playing that personally. There's easier things to trade. Amazon weekly cycles and daily cycles at their top. This is where, the only way I can really get a short-term bullish on Amazon, we got the 50 overhead here. So even on a breakout play, it would just be an intraday play to that 50 to 62.5 area. If it did close above 62.5, I wouldn't be chasing it right now, even though it will eventually favor the return to the 87.5 because we got daily and weekly cycles at the top. And I hate chasing stuff into that. I'd rather do a pullback play and get better reward to risk on Amazon, especially with a major key level right overhead. And it did fill this gap back. We got the sell off, and you got pretty substantial overhead resistance. So there's no play besides a short term, as I talked about before, a short term breakout play intraday, and that would be above about 117. With this target about 118.50 to 119. So that's the only play I'm keeping an eye on with Amazon. All right. What else? Just glancing at the yen, this is turning into at least a daily double top. I mean a daily triple top. So this double is off the table at this point. So nothing there. I think we've covered everything. Let's just see. Remember, City is coming this week. I have some key. I've been looking at some options stuff. We should pretty much, unless there's something really strange with earnings, this is based off the options market and projected moves, and based off then fine-tuned with some price significance. So the key areas I'm watching, and I might put out some videos right before some on Wednesday or Thursday, but the key areas I'm watching, 45.50 on the downside, 48.64 on the upside. And on any pop up, even with this, I'm watching for the next pretty substantial rollover play with some of these banks. So that's where we sit. I'm gonna go out, got a little more work to do, but then go out and enjoy this beautiful day here in the Chicago suburbs. I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of their day and a great evening. And we will be back tomorrow to fine tune some price action in the morning to help us get through Monday and Tuesday. I don't know if we'll hit a new low. We have a lot to chew through. Remember, unless there's some major turnaround dump move, I don't know it because all right, you come out Wednesday, that would be a pretty substantial drop for a new low. Based off where we're sitting now, I mean that would oh come on. I mean that's about a 7% drop to a new low in 3 days. It could happen Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Uh, I won't get overly bearish until we get below about 37.40 area. 37.40 tips me back into bearish mode, and then I start gunning for the new lows. Until then, I need, besides this little double top, I need a stronger momentum move to get really bearish. The HD double bottom. Oh, why do I have to hit escape every time? The HD double bottom is triggered. Here are your conservative targets. Again, lower probability because it's right against this weekly rotation zone, but that's definitely playable to the upside. It's just slightly lower probability. 294.35, 298.77, 303.16, and that would just take it for the next rollover play in Home Depot. Weekly cycles trying to get to the top, daily at the top, so I would be watching again for a little pullback entry on this one. This would be another one I'd be watching for a pullback entry instead of trying to chase it higher. Stop on that on a closing basis is right around 272.50. You are welcome, AP's World. You are welcome, Anissa. Christoph, I hope you have a wonderful night. Again, hopefully you can join us and let us know any additional news. Again, that's for you too, Anissa. If there's anything that I miss coming out of Europe, please do let me know, especially in the morning live streams so we can share it with everyone. I really appreciate everyone being here. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will chat with everyone tomorrow morning. Bye for now.